you in favor of industrial growth in Henderson County? And if elected, would you support incentives for new industry?
I mean, I have industrial growth. Obviously, some of the large manufacturing plants that we have in town employ a lot of people. Some of them live in the city of Hendersonville. No county or city can last very long if we don't have people working there. And I'm from Eastern North Carolina, where that has happened, where there's a number of counties that have started to, for lack of a better term, die because they don't have any industrial development there. They're not bringing any jobs, and people are not moving to live there. I definitely would promote that in the county and the city as well, but obviously there's a lot more space available in the county for industrial, which is what you said, growth. The city already has some relationships with a few employers here in town with incentives, where we basically have given them a cut in property tax rates so that they would come in and set up shop, and that's exactly one of there's not many incentives that a city can offer, but that is one of them, and I certainly would look into that. We also, I certainly would be open to offering an incentive to a large employer to come in to offer jobs, especially, obviously, since we're the Hendersonville City Council, to people who be living in Hendersonville. One of the interesting things that has developed since the campaign began, and I mentioned this at a luncheon last week, is there's a statute on the books that allows us to engage an employer who is not in the city limits, engage meaning provide them water and sewer, but not necessarily require them to be annexed immediately. And we can create a contractual relationship, a payment in lieu of. And I'm really interested to see ways that we could use that to maybe bring in an employer and extend sewer and fall within the relationship that we'd like to have, and that is, most people in our sewer line are in the city. But at this time, anything that we can do to bring in a few more jobs would definitely be an advantage that I would support.
Yes, I am in favor of any growth, including industrial growth in our county and city where we have space to provide it. And yes, I would endorse to encourage some financial incentives for these new industries existing industries to expand. I feel that in this market, we have to give them every break that we possibly can to give them an edge to expand and to attract businesses. The details of these, each one will have to stand on its own. We'd have to look at that and analyze it to see where it is and how the city can economically profit from this, as well as our citizens can benefit from it. So I think each one will have to be analyzed independently and go with that. But overall, yes, I would definitely encourage that when possible.
Yeah, I guess the last within the city, within the city boundaries, the last light industrial zoning that we had over here on North Whitted is basically grandfathered in at this point, to a residential area. So obviously anything that we do industrial is going to be within the county. As Mr. Smith pointed out, one of the issues we're tackling right now, the city policy is that to provide any of the water and sewer to businesses, it's been the city's policy to request that they file to be annexed into the city. And as he pointed out, one of the things we're looking at is Larry Justice back in I think 1997 had what we consider probably a loophole to be able to provide those services to industrial customers or what have you within the county without annexing. As we all know, and I don't need to tell you, the economic crunch that we're in, cities are going to have to try and be as accommodating as they can with the infrastructure to create jobs. We don't have a large role in that due to the fact that it's in the county, but that's the one area where we do have some things that we can do is to see that we provide, good clean water and sewer services to these folks without annexing them in.
I think, yes, number one, I would encourage industrial growth in Henderson County. simply because, and I would support it. And yes, I would support incentives to bring them here. When I was on city council before, we gave incentives to industry coming into, and that was always a part of the conversation during times that we met. I would like to say though, when we're talking about industry is going to always be here. I think because of the type of world that we live in. However, I do think it would do this country, and particularly this county, a good service to start looking outside the box and think of other things. I think the future is small business, for the most part. Like I said, I think industry will always be, but I think the future of the country is going to lie with small business and not industry. I think that when we're talking about industry, it's going to be mostly high tech. We see from the past how most of our industrial businesses have gone overseas in order to minimize the cost of production and then ship it back here, and then so that we had to pay it anyway. One thing I think that we did as a country was when World War II was, we pretty much got excited, and over the years we've even gotten greedy. And so the income rates have gone up super. So when we're looking at industry, we're also going to have to look at what it's going to cost to exist in our now economy in order to make industry work. But I really think the future is going to be with small business.
I see this really, the city has two opportunities here. And as you know, there is a hierarchy of incentives. The state has certain things they can do, the county has certain things they can do, and the cities are limited by state statute in what it can do. Indirectly, we can be as attractive to industry as possible, because one of the things, as you all know, that industry looks for in a community is the quality of life for their executives and their employees, as well as the availability of employees. And if we can keep the city safe, certainly as attractive as possible, keep our main street as viable as possible, then that is certainly putting a good face forward that is attractive to industry. Now financially, we are limited, but we can make infrastructure available. We need to make sure that our water and sewer capacity stay ahead of our immediate needs, so that we can accommodate industry should they come knocking. And I fully support what the city has done historically with GE and Salee and Kimberly-Clark and Dam Chaser, and there's a couple more, by waiving city taxes to make this a more attractive location for them so that they will provide jobs.